Imagine you've climbed the mountain, reached enlightenment, touched the divine, had the breakthrough everyone's seeking. You expect to float down in permanent bliss, radiating wisdom, living in perpetual peace. Then you get home, and your toilet is still broken. Your bills are still due. Your mother still triggers you. And worse, you're still you, just more aware of being you. This is the great unspoken truth about spiritual awakening. The after is nothing like what you imagine during the seeking. The awakening isn't the end of the journey, it's barely the beginning. And what comes after is so different from what anyone tells you that most people think they've failed when actually they've just begun. Carl Jung spent decades documenting what really happens after awakening, not the marketed version, the real version, the messy, confusing, often brutal truth about life after you've seen the truth. He discovered that awakening doesn't solve your problems. It transforms them into something else entirely. Today, I'm sharing the 8 things Jung observed that no one tells you about life after spiritual awakening. These aren't failures or signs you're doing it wrong. They're the actual territory of post-awakening existence that somehow never makes it into the spiritual books. And the third truth, it's probably destroying your life right now without you understanding why. The first thing no one tells you. After awakening, every relationship you have will die. Not maybe, definitely. Your marriage, your friendships, your family bonds, all of them will end. The only question is whether they will resurrect as something new or stay dead forever. Everyone talks about leaving toxic relationships after awakening. No one talks about how all your relationships become unrecognizable, even the healthy ones. Your awakening doesn't just change you. It fundamentally alters the energetic contracts you have with everyone in your life. Jung watched this pattern repeatedly. Someone awakens, expects their relationships to improve, and instead watches them all collapse, even with the people they love most. Why? Because every relationship was built on who you were, not who you've become. The old contracts are void. New ones must be negotiated, but first, the old ones must die completely. A woman told Jung, "I thought my marriage would get better after my awakening. I was more present, more loving, more authentic. But my husband didn't marry this version of me. He married someone who needed him in ways I no longer do. My independence terrifies him. My peace disturbs him. My truth triggers him. We're strangers living in the same house, grieving the people we used to be to each other." The relationship death happens in predictable stages that Jung documented. Initial excitement about sharing your growth, confusion when they resist, bargaining as you try to maintain the old while being new, grief as you realize it might not survive, then complete death of the old dynamic. Most relationships don't make it past this death phase. A man described his friendship collapse. "My best friend of 20 years suddenly felt like a stranger. We'd bonded over complaining, drinking, avoiding our problems. Now I don't do any of that. Our entire foundation was gone. We tried to fake the old dynamic, but it was like puppets performing friendship. Every conversation became forced, every laugh hollow." Here's what Jung found remarkable. Sometimes after complete death, resurrection occurs. Not a return to the old relationship, but birth of something entirely new. Same people, completely different connection. But this requires both people to let the old die completely, grieve it fully, then meet fresh, as who they've become, not who they were. The test is brutal. Can you let every relationship die without knowing if it will return? Can you be alone rather than false? Can you honor your transformation even if it costs you everyone you love? But next comes something even more challenging, a darkness that returns just when you thought you'd conquered it. The second truth that shatters people. The dark night of the soul isn't a one-time event you graduate from. It returns, regularly, each time deeper, revealing shadows you didn't know existed. The dark night becomes dark seasons, dark years, even dark decades of recursive deepening. Everyone talks about the dark night like it's singular, something you pass through once during awakening, then never again. Jung observed the opposite. Post-awakening life involves recurring descents, each one excavating deeper layers of unconscious material, like archaeological digs into your psyche. A woman came to Jung devastated. I survived my dark night 3 years ago. The ego death, the void, the dissolution, I made it through. But here I am in an even darker place. The depression is different this time. Older, deeper, like it comes from my bones, my ancestors, the earth itself. Did I fail? Am I going backwards? Jung helped her understand. She wasn't failing, but deepening. The first dark night cleared surface shadows, personal trauma from this life. This one was excavating ancestral trauma carried in her DNA. The next might address collective unconscious material from humanity itself. Each descent spirals deeper into layers of shadow, that personal, familial, collective, and even cosmic. The returning dark nights have different flavors that Jung categorized. Personal shadow, your repressed material. Familial shadow, ancestral patterns. Collective shadow, cultural trauma. Species shadow, human evolutionary wounds. And cosmic shadow, existential darkness of existence itself. Each return feels like failure because the ego believes it should be beyond darkness by now. A therapist described his pattern. Every 2 years, like clockwork, I fall into darkness. Not depression, something ancient, primordial. Each time I think I'll die, each time I do die, to another layer of false self. I emerge more authentic, but also more aware of how many deaths are still required. It's like peeling an infinite onion. The challenge? Post-awakening dark nights are harder because you're conscious during them. You watch yourself dissolve in real time, fully aware, but unable to stop it. You know what's happening, why it's happening, but knowledge doesn't prevent the experience. You become what Jung called a professional dyer, someone who knows how to die because you've done it so many times. Yet even this pales compared to the exhaustion of what comes next, when every single moment becomes a spiritual teaching. The third untold truth. After awakening, nothing is ordinary anymore. Washing dishes becomes a spiritual experience about cleansing karma. Buying groceries becomes a lesson in abundance and scarcity. Traffic jams become teachings on patience and flow. Every single moment is pregnant with meaning, dripping with significance, and honestly, it can drive you insane. Picture living where every moment is teaching you something profound. That sounds beautiful for about a week. Then you just want to buy bread without contemplating the miracle of grain becoming consciousness, or take a shower without having visions about water as universal solvent of form. Jung documented people overwhelmed not by darkness but by light. Everything had become so symbolically significant they couldn't function practically. They were drowning in meaning, suffocating in significance, paralyzed by the profound. A banker told Jung, "I can't just process transactions anymore. Every exchange becomes a meditation on energy, value, human connection." A simple deposit takes 20 minutes because I'm aware of all the layers. The customer's energy field, money's symbolic power, the bank's role in collective consciousness, the karmic implications of debt and credit. My boss thinks I've lost my mind. Maybe I have. This hypersignificance creates specific problems Jung identified. Simple tasks take forever because every action becomes consciously symbolic. Decision paralysis sets in when you see infinite implications in every choice. How buying this apple affects the farmer, the store, the economy, the environment, your karma. Social interactions exhaust you because they're all spiritually loaded with teaching, meaning, purpose. A mother described her morning. I'm making lunch while experiencing the interconnectedness of all things. Spreading peanut butter while aware of the farmer who grew peanuts, the sun that fed them, the rain that watered them, the entire chain of existence leading to this moment. Meanwhile, feeling my children's past lives, their soul purposes, their karmic lessons. My kids just want their sandwiches. I'm having a cosmic experience at 7 a.m. By noon, I'm exhausted from meaning. Jung found that successful integration required learning to toggle awareness, choosing when to engage full consciousness and when to simply function. But this takes years to master, and many never do. Meanwhile, you're drinking from a consciousness fire hose 24/7 with no off switch. But wait until you discover what happens to your spiritual gifts. They might not feel like gifts at all. The fourth devastating truth: those spiritual gifts that emerge after awakening, heightened intuition, energy sensitivity, psychic abilities, often feel more like curses than blessings. You didn't ask for them, can't turn them off, and they make normal life almost impossible. Imagine suddenly hearing everyone's thoughts constantly, not selectively, constantly, or feeling everyone's emotions as intensely as your own, or knowing things about people they haven't told you, seeing their deaths, their secrets, their shadows. These aren't superpowers. They're overwhelming expansions of perception that can destroy your sanity. Jung documented numerous cases of post-awakening abilities that drove people to near madness, not because they weren't real, but because they were too real, too intense, too uncontrollable. The psychic channels that open during awakening don't come with instruction manuals or off switches. A nurse developed medical intuition after awakening. She could sense illness before symptoms appeared: cancer, heart disease, mental illness. Sounds useful? It was torture. Walking through crowds meant feeling everyone's diseases in her own body. Shopping became unbearable, feeling the cashier's tumor as pressure in her chest, the customer's depression as weight in her bones, the manager's impending stroke as lightning in her head. She told Jung, "I thought spiritual gifts would be beautiful. Instead, I'm drowning in information I can't use, can't stop, can't escape. I know things about strangers I don't want to know, feel their death dates, see their shadow attachments, hear their unconscious screams. It's not a gift. It's a curse. I'd give anything to be blind again." Common post-awakening gifts that become burdens include telepathy, hearing unwanted thoughts and judgments, empathic abilities, feeling others' physical and emotional pain, prophetic visions, seeing disasters you can't prevent, energy sight, seeing everyone's wounds and entities, and medical intuition, knowing illnesses you can't heal. A businessman developed prophetic dreams after awakening, not lottery numbers, but accidents, deaths, disasters. He knew when colleagues would be fired, when relatives would die, when accidents would happen. Telling people made him seem insane and changed nothing. Not telling them made him feel complicit. The knowledge was useless weight. Jung found that managing these gifts takes years of learning boundaries, filters, protection. Initially, it's like being psychically naked in an information hurricane. Many never learn to manage them, and either shut down completely or go mad from the input. Speaking of overwhelming, the loneliness that comes next is unlike anything you've ever known. If you're recognizing these truths in your own post-awakening life, the relationship deaths, the returning darkness, this overwhelming awareness, these cursed gifts, know that you're not failing at awakening. This is awakening. The mess, the confusion, the unexpected challenges, all part of the real journey no one prepared you for. Before we explore the final 4 truths, subscribe to this channel and join our community of souls navigating this uncharted territory together. Share in the comments which unexpected post-awakening reality you're facing. Your honesty might be exactly what another soul needs to hear today. Let's continue, because what comes next explains the specific type of isolation that awakening brings. The 5th untold truth: the loneliness after awakening isn't social, it's existential. You're not alone because you lack people. You're alone because you're awake in a sleeping world, conscious in an unconscious reality. It's cellular, cosmic, absolute. A loneliness that more people actually makes worse. Imagine being the only person who sees color in a black and white world. You try describing blue, but others have no reference point. They think you're insane, pretentious, or trying to seem special. Eventually, you stop trying to share what you see. But the seeing doesn't stop. You're alone with vision in a world that can't share it. Jung treated countless awakened individuals describing this unique loneliness. Not depression, not social isolation, something deeper. The loneliness of expanded consciousness in a contracted world, of multidimensional awareness in a single-dimension reality. A teacher explained, "I'm surrounded by people all day, but I'm cosmically alone. I'm experiencing reality in dimensions they don't know exist. Having conversations at levels they can't access. Feeling frequencies they can't perceive. It's like being the only adult in a world of children, not from superiority, but from developmental difference. I love them, but we're not in the same reality." This loneliness has specific qualities Jung documented. It can't be solved by more social interaction. Crowds make it worse because you feel the gap with more people. It doesn't respond to traditional connection. Shared activities feel hollow. It increases with spiritual growth. The more conscious you become, the more alone. And it can't be explained to those not experiencing it. The words exist, but the experience doesn't translate. Jung discovered this loneliness serves a function: forcing connection beyond human relationship. You're pushed to commune with consciousness itself, develop relationship with existence, find companionship in presence rather than people. The trees become friends, the sky becomes companion, silence becomes company. The awakened learn to transform aloneness into all oneness, not through more people but through deeper presence. The loneliness doesn't end. It transforms into something else entirely, a fullness that needs no external completion. But the hardest truth might be accepting what you discover next. The 6th brutal truth: despite your expanded consciousness, deep wisdom, and genuine desire to help, you can't save anyone. Not family, not friends, not even those begging for help. And here's the twist: you can't even save yourself. This powerlessness becomes one of the heaviest post-awakening burdens. Imagine having the cure but no one believing you. Or worse, they believe but won't take the medicine. You watch people suffer from problems you know how to solve, trapped in patterns you clearly see, dying from wounds you could heal. But consciousness can't be transmitted through will, and transformation can't be forced, not even on yourself. Jung watched awakened individuals struggle with this savior complex. They'd transformed their suffering, found real solutions, developed genuine wisdom. Surely they could help others. Surely they could at least maintain their own healing. But awakening can't be given, only chosen. And it must be chosen again and again, even by you. A healer told Jung, "I see exactly what's causing someone's suffering. The childhood trauma creating illness, the belief patterns destroying relationships, the shadow material poisoning their life. I can see it all and show the path. But they have to walk it. Most won't. They'd rather suffer familiarly than heal uncomfortably. And sometimes I'm one of them, seeing my own patterns clearly but unable to change them. This creates a double grief, grieving for others and for yourself. Watching people choose suffering when liberation is available, seeing souls stay trapped when the door is open, and catching yourself doing the same thing, choosing familiar suffering over unfamiliar healing, even with full awareness. The inability to save manifests everywhere. Watching loved ones repeat destructive patterns you've transcended, having wisdom that's rejected or misunderstood, offering help that's refused or sabotaged, knowing what someone needs but being unable to give it, and seeing your own patterns continue despite consciousness. Jung observed that accepting this powerlessness is crucial for post-awakening peace. You can model possibility, not mandate transformation. Plant seeds, not force growth. Be the lighthouse, not the rescue boat. And accept that even you will sometimes choose to crash on familiar rocks rather than sail toward unknown shores. And just when you think you've transcended ego, something worse emerges from the spiritual shadows. The seventh truth no one mentions. After awakening, you develop a spiritual ego that's more sophisticated and dangerous than your original ego. It's Ego 2.0, upgraded, refined, disguised in spiritual language, and virtually undetectable. Because it looks and sounds spiritual, you don't recognize it as ego. Jung witnessed this in every awakened person, including himself. The old ego doesn't die during awakening. It evolves, adapts, learns the language of consciousness. It dresses in humility while seeking recognition. It performs enlightenment while craving specialness. It speaks non-duality while creating subtle separation. The spiritual ego says things like, "I'm beyond ego," the ego claiming egolessness. "I don't judge," while judging those who judge. "I'm just an empty vessel," while being proud of emptiness. "I have no attachments," while attached to non-attachment. We're all one, while feeling superior in the knowing. It's a masterpiece of self-deception. A teacher confessed to Jung, "I thought I'd killed my ego during awakening. Then I caught myself feeling superior to unconscious people, being proud of my humility, competing about who's more awakened, using spiritual concepts to avoid accountability, teaching from a subtle pedestal while preaching equality. My ego hadn't died. It had gotten a PhD in spirituality and was now running a more sophisticated game." The spiritual ego is harder to spot because it mimics genuine awakening perfectly. It performs surrender while maintaining control. speaks oneness while creating hierarchies, preaches love while practicing subtle violence, demonstrates wisdom while avoiding growth, uses every spiritual teaching as a shield against real transformation. Jung found the spiritual ego causes more damage than the original because it's convinced of its righteousness. The regular ego knows it's selfish. There's honesty in that. The spiritual ego believes it's selfless while being profoundly self-centered. It can justify anything through spiritual logic, wound others in the name of truth, avoid responsibility through cosmic perspective. This sophisticated ego becomes your greatest post-awakening challenge, constantly hijacking genuine growth, turning insights into identity, using awakening itself as the ultimate ego project. Which brings us to the final, perhaps most challenging truth about life after awakening. The final truth that breaks people. Awakening never ends. There's no arrival, no final achievement, no graduation to permanent enlightenment. It's an endless unfolding, infinite deepening, forever journey that doesn't just continue, it accelerates. The further you go, the faster you go, the more there is to go. Jung observed people expect awakening to be like reaching a mountain peak, hard climb, then arrival, then rest. Instead, it's like space travel. You break Earth's atmosphere thinking you've reached space, only to discover space is infinite. And you're not just floating, you're accelerating into endless mystery. Every level of consciousness reveals 10 more levels. Every answer births 100 questions. Every integration opens new areas needing integration. Every death leads to another birth, leading to another death. You don't complete awakening. Awakening completes you, piece by piece, forever. And the pieces are infinite. A man 30 years on the path told Jung, "I keep thinking I'm almost done, almost fully awakened, almost completely healed." Then a new layer reveals itself. A deeper teaching emerges. A higher perspective opens. I'm further along, but no closer to done. If anything, I'm more aware of how endless this is. It's like the horizon. The closer you get, the further it moves. Except it's also behind you and above you and within you. This endlessness can overwhelm. No finish line to cross, no final exam to pass, no ultimate achievement to attain. No permanent state to maintain, no graduation from growth. The carrot of full enlightenment keeps moving as you approach. Every breakthrough reveals 10 more breakthroughs needed. But Jung saw this as liberation, not burden. You can stop trying to arrive and simply be in process. Stop seeking completion and embrace eternal becoming. Stop waiting for the journey to end and realize the journey is the destination. The endless nature means you're never done, but also never stuck. Always growing, always discovering, always becoming more, while realizing you'll never become all. The acceleration means each year contains more growth than the previous decade. Each insight opens exponentially more insights. Each healing reveals deeper wounds. Each answer poses vaster questions. You're not just on a path, you're on an exponential curve of consciousness that has no limit, no ceiling, no end. These 8 truths about post-awakening life reveal something crucial. Awakening isn't a solution, it's a transformation of the problem. Life doesn't become easier, it becomes infinitely deeper. You don't transcend humanity. You embody it more fully while simultaneously transcending it. You become the paradox. Jung's ultimate insight. These aren't problems to solve, but territories to inhabit. Post-awakening life is about learning to dance with these realities, not overcome them. To find peace within the chaos, not beyond it. To discover that the mess is the path, the confusion is the clarity, the problem is the solution. You're not meant to master these truths, but to be mastered by them, shaped by them, refined by them eternally. If you're in post-awakening life feeling like you're doing it wrong because it's not what you expected, Jung would want you to know, nobody's post-awakening matches the marketing, the mess, the confusion, the ongoing challenges. This is what it actually looks like. You're not failing at enlightenment, you're living it. You haven't failed at awakening because you still have problems. You've succeeded at awakening, which is why your problems are now conscious instead of unconscious, chosen instead of automatic, transformative instead of repetitive. You're not supposed to be floating in perpetual bliss. You're supposed to be deeply engaged with the full spectrum of existence, the beauty and horror, ecstasy and agony, meaning and void, all of it, all at once, forever. The beauty of post-awakening life isn't that it's easy, it's that it's real, profoundly, sometimes brutally, always transformatively real. You're no longer sleepwalking through existence. You're awake to all of it, unable to look away, required to feel everything, blessed and cursed with consciousness that can't be turned off. And yes, it's harder than you expected, more complex than anyone told you, more ongoing than you imagined, but it's also more authentic, more alive, more genuinely miraculous than unconscious life could ever access. You've traded the comfort of sleep for the intensity of awakeness, and despite the challenges, you can never go back. The door only opens one way. If these post-awakening truths resonate with your experience, subscribe to this channel and join our community of souls navigating this unmarked territory together. Hit the notification bell for daily deep dives into the real spiritual journey, not the marketed version, but the lived reality.